This video is sponsored by Squarespace. So if you need a website, a domain, or an online store, make your next move with Squarespace and use the discount code Andrew Marr. Lachie and I have come out again and we're checking out another gorge. I'll write the name of it. I think it's called something like Kalamina Gorge. It's a little bit trickier to get to. You need a four-wheel drive to drive the track out to the gorge. But it's beautiful. It's a completely different gorge to what we're used to. It's quite open and a flat bottom, which makes the walking around quite easy. I've got my my camera here, the Nikon Z7, and I haven't got a tripod with me. The idea is I want to try and use the inbuilt image stabilization to capture some of the smaller waterfalls. We're in the middle of the day, so the sun is right overhead, and it means that the light, when it's cast into the gorge, is quite harsh. So what I'm doing is I'm using the inbuilt image stabilization here on the Z7 and going into some of the darker shadows and looking for these little intimate little waterfalls, trying to compose them with some of the wall at the back, the beautiful textures, and some of the green plants around the area. So we're going to continue walking, and I'll show you some of the images that I capture. My settings, by the way, is still ISO 100. I'm playing around with the aperture somewhere between 8 and going as low as 20, just to be able to cut down some of the light, so that my shutter speed is around about 1/4, 1/5 or 1/6 of a second. The inbuilt image stabilization should be able to cope with that. This is a good little practice for me and a good little test out to see what the inbuilt image stabilization is like. And 1/4, 1/5 and 1/6 of a second is going to give me enough time to just get that effect, that kind of silky effect hopefully on the water. So let's go. So what I'm trying to compose here in this shot is I've got this tree as my main subject. I've got the reeds coming in from the right hand side, and then this nice looking boulder with a couple of other rocks on the left here. And then in the foreground I've got this rock shelf leading in from the left, and then I've also got another rock shelf coming in from the right. That's only a small one, but as the water is cascading over these little rocks, it's making a pattern out to the left and then also a pattern out to the right. And I've also got in some of the shots this little rock edge here. So I'm actually taking this shot in portrait mode. So I've got this sometimes as a foreground, but in a lot of cases I've got this little area here as my foreground interest, leading into the midground here, which is a really nice palette of colours. And then beyond here I've got the tree, and then this really interesting folds of red, of the beautiful velvet red cliff walls there that just seem like they're just folding into each other. So even in the background I've got this amazing depth. I want to share a slightly different composition with you, but before I do, I just want to thank Squarespace for sponsoring this video. I've been using Squarespace for over 7 years now, and they provide an easy to use platform for building websites without the need for knowing any code. The reason why I like to use Squarespace is they take away all the pain of running a website, like hosting, installing updates, and considering responsive design, because they take care of all of that. They provide a range of beautiful and professionally designed templates, as well as the ability to easily customize each one of them to suit your look and feel. This means that I can focus on the images that I want to upload and the content I want to share on my website. I have a pretty busy schedule, so being able to have an easily updated website gives me more time to get away and shoot landscape photos. So head on over to squarespace.com for a free trial. That'll give you heaps of time to set up a website, and then when you're ready to launch, make sure you go to squarespace.com/Andrew Marr to get 10% off your first purchase. So we've had an excellent time down here. I think we've spent nearly 3 hours, pretty close, maybe 2.5. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the inbuilt image stabilization, the IBIS in this camera. It seems to be holding up fairly well. I'm doing a few things just to help it. So the technique in which I'm using to hold the camera, I'm holding the camera with both hands. Obviously my left hand's underneath the lens, and I'm holding my arms and the camera as close to my body as possible. My elbows are right in against my torso, and then I'm either holding it with my bent legs, with my legs bent, or I'm crouching right down, and I breathe out to the end of my breath, and then I take a shot. When I'm taking a shot, I've got it on burst mode, so it's taking a series of shots, and then hopefully just one of those shots is the shot that I need, is nice and sharp. I check each shot on the back of the camera for exposure, and I also zoom in just to check whether I've got a sharp shot. Just wanted to point out that before, when I started shooting here, I had an ISO of about 1600, and that was me just not resetting the camera. We were shooting some astrophotography last night, and I had the ISO up at 1600, and of course in these situations you want an ISO as low as possible because you want a clean image, so I brought that back down to 100, and then I went back and shot some of those images that you would have seen me shoot earlier on in the video. As far as compositions are concerned, there is just so many compositions around. I was originally, as I said, was looking in these little shadow areas up against the wall, similar to what is behind me here. So the light is nice and even, the light is being bounced off the opposite wall and the trees and is reflecting in. So I've got nice even light here. But I've also found that as the sun has got higher in the sky, it's starting to cast some light down on the opposite wall. And I'm starting to shoot on the opposite wall now, where there's actually some light hitting the tops of the trees and then maybe casting a line of light across my composition. And it's a really nice effect. I'm trying to use that within the composition that I've got. Sometimes it's lighting up the green algae in the water, sometimes it's coming across the leaves and making them a beautiful light green and yellow translucent colour. So I'm just playing around with that. So hopefully you're enjoying the images that I've got here. On this trip I had a few things from NiteCore with me to test out, and I thought I'd quickly share my thoughts about this gear with you. So Lachlan and I have been travelling around now for about a week. We're on our 7th or 8th day, and we're just starting to head home back to Perth. On this trip I have grabbed with me some gear from NiteCore or NiteCore. I actually reached out to them and asked whether I could. I was actually interested in the recharger for the battery for the Fujifilm GFX 100, and I reached out to them to see whether or where I could actually buy this in Australia. I wasn't too sure, and they offered to send me out this unit and also a head torch, which I'm going to talk about in a second. So that was very kind of them. I can say anything I like about the product, but I thought I'd give you a little bit of feedback about how I found this. I haven't used this as much because I've got several spare batteries for the camera for the 100. I've got 3 batteries in total, but what I like about this particular unit is it's got this display at the top here which gives me all this information about how charged and how healthy the battery is, which is really, really good. It also, the battery actually clicks into the unit, which is really helpful because I charge it when on the go. So I've got it in the back in one of the drawers in the canopy here, and it rattles around a little bit. So for the battery to not just sit on top, but actually it clicks in and is secure in this unit is really, really good. It recharges through a USB-C port here, which is brilliant because I have that all over the canopy, plus I can plug it into an electrical board that I have plugged into the inverter, so that it fits nicely with the rest of my recharging workflow. So all in all, this is really, really good. The other thing is that I can charge 2 batteries at the same time, which is brilliant, and of course the display for both of those batteries, or the information, is displayed on the screen here as well. And pretty much I have the 2 batteries connected with the cord down there, and then I just slip it straight into a drawer, and it charges away really, really nicely. The other thing which I was really interested in is this head torch. Now, I said to them, look, could you send me out a head torch for camping and photography? And this is what they sent me. I'll give you the display of what that is on the screen somewhere. But I've had several head torches over the years. What I struggle with a lot of head torches is how long they'll last and how heavy they can be. This has got a lithium rechargeable battery inside the front unit, so the back is really, really light. And this is probably the lightest head torch I have ever owned. I've usually had head torches that have either had the battery on the back or the battery on the front, and they're a big size battery. And even with those, they'll run out in around about 3 days, which is of just normal camp and photography use, which is not too bad, but I've got to continue, or got to remember to continually recharge it. So for this one, I thought I'd recharge it at the beginning of the trip and then not recharge it throughout the rest of the trip. And it has lasted the entire time, which has been really, really good. I don't know how charged it is. It doesn't have any indicator to indicate what the charge is on it. It's got a port down the bottom, which I think is a mini USB port down the bottom there, so it's not USB-C. It has a white light and also a red light. The red light has 2 dimming settings plus a flash, and then the white light has 3 dimming settings and a flash setting as well. I usually have it round camp on the lowest setting because I just need that ambient light, but then it's got these 2 step ups which are actually quite strong. Both Lachlan and I have found that quite strong around the campsite. If you ever need it, and we did need it once when we were walking around in the bush. It's got an elastic adjustable strap. What else can I say? I'm really impressed with the battery life and the weight of it. That's really, really fantastic. It's also, the angle is adjustable as well, which is really, really good. Yeah, all in all, a fantastic little unit. If I was to complain about anything, it would be nice to be able to see how much charge I had on the unit. But look, other than that, as I said, it's the lightest head torch I've had and has been really, really good on this trip. I'm really, really pleased with it. I'll probably now make that my main head torch when I'm camping. The final thing I just wanted to mention about my setup is you might notice that I've got the Polarizer on, and that's so helpful. We've got a lot of light being bounced around and we're getting a bit of glare coming off the surface of the water. Some of the waterfalls, you'll see that this is a pretty dry waterfall behind me, but it's pretty wet, and you can see the amount of glare that's coming off that waterfall there. So anywhere where there's wet surfaces, there's glare, and I've got the Polarizer cutting the glare out, which is really nice. Gives it a really nice, cleaner look without the glare. It also gives the greens and yellows this really nice punch. And if I do have the sky in the shot, which I actually don't have all that much, it gives the blues a little bit more punch as well. So that's why I've got the Polarizer on, and I'm having to reset it depending on whether I'm shooting landscape or portrait. Anyway, that's pretty much it. We're going to explore a little bit more of the gorge on the way back again. We're going to go back to the car and have something to eat for lunch. I hope you have a chance to get out with your camera and shoot a couple of landscape photos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.